The Kalos region, home to many beloved trainers as well as Pokémon X, Y, and Legends EA. Obviously taking some inspiration from France in the real world, but it makes you wonder, why don't Kalosian people have French accents? Now, we talked about accents here on the channel in the past and all the weird little inconsistencies throughout the franchise, but with Pokémon Legends EA being the most recent, it introduced a brand new character who spoke French, at least in the subtitles of a game. So yeah, let's go in and talk about it, and obviously this is only going to be discussing the English version of these games, because that is primarily where it all appears, but we actually need to go back to Generation 4 with Diamond and Pearl, where we meet the gym leader of Hearthome City, Fantina. In the English localization, she uses a lot of French pepper throughout her sentences, implying that she may be from France. Now obviously the Kalos region did not exist back then, but retroactively fans have sort of headcanoned her as being from Kalos. Though like I said, this is only in the English localizations. Apparently in the original Japanese, she spoke various words in English, and of course that was also carried into the French localization because characters speaking French in the French language is not going to be all that different. So while it isn't explicitly stated in the original versions where she's meant to be from, it is just sort of generally stated that she is not from the Sinnoh region and is implied to be from elsewhere. Whether they meant that to be somewhere like the United Kingdom or America or Canada, I will never know. But just watch, eventually they're going to reveal that Fantina was actually from Cincinnati, Ohio this whole time. Anyway, when time came to localize this game into English, they had to adjust her dialogue in a way to make it seem like she was still foreign. And with a very flashy appearance because she is a contest coordinator, I guess French made a lot of sense. They probably figured, oh, this'll be perfect, it fits her appearance, it'll give her some extra flair, and there's no way they're gonna make a French Pokemon region. They made a French Pokemon region. So following suit in the anime, where we get to hear many characters actually speak, Fantina was given a French accent.
Merci à vous! You're a most formidable opponent. It's been so long since I have had a contest battle. You fill me with joy.
Honestly, I do actually think it is cool, and like I said, in the past we've seen things like this just because when you have things in the original Japanese where a character is meant to be from a different country or even a different region, it really is a bit of a puzzle in how you're supposed to represent that in different languages. So for the most part, I think they do an okay job, but everything gets a little weirder once we eventually make it to Kalos. Now again, the Kalos region is inspired by France and there are a lot of neat little visual cues, but generally when it came to things like the dialogue in the anime, no characters were outright given a French accent, at least in the English localization. And honestly, that is totally fine, because Pokemon itself is already this magical world where everybody speaks the same language and understands each other, so it makes it a lot easier when translating it to different languages. All of those things are for our convenience as the player or the watcher, because in universe everybody just speaks the same language basically. But then came Pokemon Masters, which actually has voice acting for every character. A very fun treat and one of my favorite spin-off mobile games for this very reason, and at the very least in the English version Fantina is consistent having a French accent over there.
I am Fantina. I wish to show you Pokémon battling à la danse classique.
Though when it comes to the Kalos characters, they all just have an English-American accent consistent with the anime. That is actually except for Viola. And I was kind of surprised when I found this out, but when I heard her voice for the first time, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so good, I love it.
I'm Viola. We're going to snag some picturesque victories, I promise. You and your Pokémon are fantastic. Just fantastic!
But of all characters, I really wonder why she was chosen. I suppose it is because she is the first gym leader that you encounter in Pokemon X and Y, so in a way maybe it does a good job of setting the scene. Though it was the biggest betrayal to find out that Professor Sycamore just had an American accent.
I'm Professor Sycamore. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. How is your Pokemon journey going so far?
But going on and listening to all of the other Kalos characters in this game, I was really surprised to hear Ramos. He doesn't have a French accent or anything, and maybe it is sorta meant to be just a generic old person type of speak, but to me at least he literally sounds like an animatronic from Knott's Berry Farm.
Oh, the name's Ramos. I may not look it, but I'm a grass-type gym leader. If you want to know about plants, I'm your man.
And you know what? Sure, okay, that's kinda funny. But now we jump ahead forward in time to Pokémon Legends EA that gives us a brand new adventure in Lumio City, and with it come a bunch of brand new characters with their own stories. And it's really cool that we got some extra representation with Kanari who actually speaks gamer. Nah, I'm kidding, obviously I meant to talk about Jacinthe. The head of the Society of Battle Connoisseurs, she obviously is very fancy, and plays into a lot of the French inspiration with her style and especially her name, and most of all her dialogue. You'll notice that she sprinkles in a bunch of French sayings and words throughout her sentences, very similar to Fantina before. However, it actually makes a lot of sense with Jacinthe because she actually is from Kalos. To my understanding, this is only in the English localization, though it is a very welcome choice. I'm sure it was really intended because she is from Kalos, but it could also be interpreted as one of those characters who uses a bunch of French words here and there just to sound fancy even though they aren't actually French themselves or don't speak the full language. A pretty common trope that we used to see a lot in media of the 2000s or so. Depending on whatever you want to headcanon, it all makes sense. Though I think that is just about where we end things for now, because at the moment a lot of Legends EA characters have not made their way into Pokemon Masters, nor the anime, and just based on the patterns that we saw with Pokemon Legends Arceus, I don't expect it to happen anytime soon. Definitely we're probably not going to see it in the anime at all because we've kind of already moved past that point, and even at present Pokemon Masters has only added like a handful of characters from Legends Arceus, so I would kind of want them to kick things into high gear and add those characters before moving on to Legends EA, but aside from the protagonist, I totally expect Jacinthe to be one of the first characters they add. So at the end of the day, when it comes to characters who canonically speak French in Pokemon, we only have a few, but of course like I said before in these types of videos, it just really doesn't matter because there's no consistency at all, really because the game's released in multiple languages and you can't exactly do it in every single language, but at the very least in Pokemon Masters, I'm pretty happy with the direction that all of the actors get. So let me know what you think in the comments below about the quote Kalosian accent and all the characters that we brought up today. Which ones are your favorite and what kind of voices do you personally headcanon for them, because you can do that in Pokemon when we have so many different interpretations. Anyway, I should probably get back to my own vocal coaching because you all apparently hate how I pronounce every single thing. Thank every channel member for your continued support, including the great Gators, Piwas, Mao, Kiko, Kaiser, Noobvi, Jellyfish Sheep, ITC, Lord Jeff, Hype, Pepperton, Beak Deek Joe, Dr. Shaky, AKJess413, Ark, Laserbeak316, Alex with Shiny Hunts, Starshooter, Koi13, Cemetery Hill, Cheez-It62, GatorKid509, TF, Mathaclock947, Taijirai, and Quago. If you'd like to support, see your name here, get access to emotes, 4 comments, live streams, sometimes early videos, and our members-only Discord server, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorX, and I will catch you all later.